Good afternoon. Welcome to World Collective Master Talk. Today I'm with Gabriel Labbate, who is the head of the Climate Mitigation Unit and Global Teams Leader at the UN REDD program at UNEP. He has more than 20 years experience in the interface of environment, poverty, and human development. He has worked on environmental evaluation, quantitative poverty analysis, cost-benefit analysis, and the integration of social issues into land use and biodiversity conservation policies. Gabriel's current work focuses on the use of carbon markets to support high-integrity nature-based solutions to climate change. Gabriel is part of the core expert panel of the Integrity Council for Voluntary Carbon Markets. Gabriel also holds a degree in biology at the University of Buenos Aires, Argentina, a master's degree in economics from NYU, and a PhD in environmental studies from the University of California, Santa Cruz. Welcome, Gabriel, and thank you so much for your time today. How are you?
Thank you, Janine.
Good. So, Gabriel, we're really just talking about so many things that are happening with climate change, and obviously how businesses and industries can really help shape what's happening in the market. Recently, up till last week, there's quite a controversy over what happens in the carbon markets and really what it means to be a carbon offset or carbon integration or insets into the business profile. Could you help us shed any light on exactly what's happening and what's really, how do we uncover really what the truth is here?
It's important to put the carbon markets into the wider context, and this context is that we are running out of time. We are off track to be within 2 degrees,
right?
Much less 1.5. The amount of emission reductions we need to undertake in order to avoid the worst of climate change is significant. We need to use all the tools in the toolbox, and carbon markets, if of high integrity, can be an important part of the solution. Will not be the only one, but can be an important part. The issue is, and rightly is, what I said, carbon markets of high integrity. And high integrity in the carbon markets is a work in progress. It wouldn't reflect reality to say that the whole of the voluntary carbon market is of a quality. But what it is true is that there are parts of there are mitigation activities that we still need to improve.
So how do we really understand if this is a valid company or carbon credit that companies are actually purchasing in the marketplace?
Yeah, companies have different options. The part of the market that has had the greater scrutiny is that of standalone projects, REDD+ projects. We will not have time to go over the technicalities, but the current protocols in some instances show that there is uncertainty about the volume of emission reductions achieved. If I were a company that wants to invest into nature-based solutions, and particularly forests, I would explore jurisdictional REDD+. There are a number of countries, and there are initiatives already ongoing to purchase these emission reductions. I would explore involving myself in one of them. Jurisdictional REDD+ has provides a solution to the problem of inflated baselines, which is basically what the Guardian article was mentioning.
So jurisdictional meaning, if you can explain that for the lay terms in this
Yeah.
project.
When you have a project, a standalone project, a few thousand hectares, and you want to estimate the impact of this project, you need to define a counterfactual.
Okay.
Meaning what would have happened in the absence of this project. Yeah. So maybe one at the one end of the spectrum is, well, the whole area went up in smoke. It was deforested. Yeah. On the other side of the spectrum of potential counterfactual is, well, nothing happened. The area, never had a problem, never had a risk. The question is that, in the real world, you fall somewhere in between. The last 5 years are a good predictor of what will happen in the next 5. Yeah. So if the country stays below this average, yeah, and we applied a discounts for uncertainty, we applied a discounts for leakage, that maybe the activity was displaced somewhere else. We apply a discount for reversals.
Okay.
We protected, this huge area for some time, but 10 years from now, some part of these areas actually were deforested. So those are reversals. Those discounts are steep. It can be about 50% of all emission reductions.
50% of emission reductions if we use jurisdictional means.
In the protocol for jurisdiction, yes, you can get up to 50% of deductions. The objective in this case is to make sure that we are in the conservative range of what could have happened. That we are sure that the emission reductions we are putting in the market for purchase, those emission reductions are real and that they existed. Now, if a company wants to invest in standalone projects, and some standalone projects are very good and they are making very important contributions where they operate, then I would suggest that the company looks for ratings for that project, and there is an emerging now ecosystem of companies that are rating projects, and it would be good to get one more than one rating. And if your plan is to stay in this market for a while, you can also invest in some in-house capacity.
Right, but how would you know? So just to understand, how would you know what has real environmental benefits? I mean, how do you know if this company would be someone that would be legitimate outside of jurisdictional credits? Is there anything else that would help to, alert a company that, that anything that they're investing or what they believe is offset or inset actually doesn't have any environment or lack of real environmental benefits to the program?
Yeah, the protocols to validate and verify emission reductions follow check for several requirements, conditions, that the emission reductions would have not happened in the absence of that project. So that is checked. Permanence, that the project is contributing to a buffer pool of emission reductions that will be available in case there are reversals in this project. Robust quantification, that the uncertainty in emission reductions is within acceptable range, and that there is a low likelihood of overestimation of emission reductions. very, very important social and environmental safeguards. There were no social abuses in achieving the emission reductions. There were no environmental abuses in achieving these emission reductions. Jurisdictional approaches include these checks. BERRA, which is a main crediting program, also includes these checks. The Integrity Council for Voluntary Carbon Markets is actually developing this protocol to highlight, to tag a type of mitigation activities that are considered to be of high integrity.
Are there safeguards, or do you think European Union, you think there will be some additional regulation from governments to help guide these good programs together? Because obviously we need them. And is there any regulation that you see on the forward look that you think that maybe governments will be starting to monitor or helping to, guide and implement?
Well, if you operate in the European Union, you are already subject to a number of rules in terms of how you can produce, and depending on your sector,
right,
these rules varied. You could even be within the European carbon market, which is a formal one,
right,
and be obliged to be part of this market. So depending where you are, you will be subject to different type of regulation, but the direction of travel is clear. It may be blurred here and there because of temporary shocks to the global economy, but that direction of travel is your means of production will have to get way cleaner, and companies will be required to mitigate emission reductions, and leading companies are even seeing this a bit, are having a line of sight that goes beyond that, and it says it is not just enough to be on a pathway to net zero. Net zero will be by 2050. Now, my hard to abate emissions, we need to compensate them. And the nature-based sector is the best sector at the moment, not only to compensate for those emission reductions that you cannot mitigate at the current time, but because of the array of non-carbon benefits of these interventions: biodiversity conservation, soil conservation, contributions to regional climate patterns, social benefits. A large number of the population still depends on these ecosystems.
So socially, we really need to keep continuing
Social is
to
very
invest in it.
important.
Yes.
For many people, the forest is a pharmacy. For many people, the forest is a good chunk of the supermarket. For many of these groups, there is a cultural link to these environments. In the same way that I have a strong link in spiritual, emotional terms to a given part of the world. Many of these communities have a very strong spiritual and cultural linkage to these ecosystems.
Yes, I understand. I mean, there's often kind of taken out of the equation, especially as they, maybe don't have as big of a voice as many others around the globe. I mean, especially the indigenous communities. What I'd also want to kind of ask you is, as the United Nations is really leading in this kind of carbon offset credits, really for pushing really the biodiversity, forest, and nature-based initiatives. Are you seeing a real metrics or switch from year to year on the investments into this sector?
Yes, the voluntary carbon market had a significant growth in the last few years. It quadrupled in size. There are a number of estimations out there about what this growth will be by 2030, and this range from 10 billion a year to 40 billion a year, depending on a number of assumptions. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're really seeing some monumental growth here, and we're hoping to see that these players that are not maybe doing the right thing and using their credits for the right purposes, hopefully would be weeded out of the programs that are being offered globally, and that maybe the accountability will get a little harder or a little stricter for many companies to start really showing the evidence of the work that they're doing. Do you see that companies are turning away from carbon credits because of this, or do you see that they're still going steadfast and trying to really figure it out and make the appropriate adjustments? Because of course, anything that starts never is going off so smoothly. So do you see them still continuing to want to invest this way?
There was an impact on the market, for example, after the Guardian article. Whether that impact will be long-lasting is hard to tell. My own impression is that the market is gaining integrity, that the main actors in this market fully understand that there is a need to very rapidly plug these holes, make sure that before 2025 we don't see the kind of criticism we have seen. So I'm confident that within 3 to 4 years, you will still find things of not so good quality in the market, but that what will be coming, what will be produced between now and then, will be of much higher integrity.
Is there one bit of advice that you give to some of the leaders that are running the organizations, or people in heads or decision-making positions within these organizations?
Main piece of advice is the direction of travel is clear, that consumers are becoming more and more aware,
right,
of issues of the impact of climate change, that those that take early steps will be way better positioned to either retain or expand market share. That formal regulation by countries will go in that direction. So better get ready now than be caught later with an out-of-date production model. And the experience of those that enter early, for example, in so many areas of the renewable energy transformation, those that understood the direction of travel, that were able to position themselves at early stages, are reaping the benefits now.
Excellent, excellent. I want to leave you with one last question. Last year, when we first started talking about these programs, we had talked about adding some of these opportunities in nature-based programs within our World Collective. And at that time, there was the coming up to COP and to the UNGA, and there was discussion about tapping or market valuing the carbon credit market in general. Can you give us a little bit of update on maybe where you are or the organization itself in really kind of, creating a standard for people to purchase against?
The most advanced initiative at the moment is the Integrity Council for Voluntary Carbon Markets, which will publish an assessment framework and results to start signaling best quality. So that's something that we support, and within that effort, our main attention is being put in increasing the integrity of forest credits and nature-based solution credits. Why? Again, as I said at the beginning, the nature sector, forest is the one with the greatest capacity to scale up in the very short term. It has the potential to contribute about a third of what we need to do by 2030 to stay within 2 degrees. It has an array of biodiversity, environmental and social benefits beyond carbon. Message is, if you are a company exploring the possibility of compensating hard to abate emissions, my suggestion is, have a look into that sector, because it can be value for money.
Excellent, Gabriel. Thank you so much. I want to wrap it up there. You've given us a lot to think about, and I will be back with you again for a follow-up interview as we get closer to the COP and the UNGA in September and November and December, I think. So, so many dates to go on. Anyway, thank you so much, Gabriel. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I learned so much, and so we keep on working, and hopefully we achieve what we need to in turning this situation around. Have a great day.
Thanks to you, Janine. Goodbye.
Thank you.